Hi, welcome to Trigger Your Truth. I'm Kristen. So I kind of have been thinking, and I don't know, I just kind of wanted to come on here and see what you guys are feeling, and maybe if this resonates with you too. But I just feel like that there's a lot of anger and shame and resentment, kind of everywhere, really. And, do you think that that is something as a collective that we really need to take a harder look at and understand better? I had the opportunity to spend some time with um, our dearest friends, and they've been through a lot the last 3 years, overwhelmingly a lot. And it really makes me sad. But ultimately, what I felt spending time with them was, I mean, anger, blame, and resentment. Um, so much so that, at times I was a little uncomfortable, but I love them, and ultimately, felt really sad. Certainly can see why they both felt that way. Um, so it just kind of sat with me, and then I reflected back on my relationship with my husband, and which I've talked about in previous videos. And we were headed straight towards the divorce court. And at that time, it's the same thing. We were both in that cycle of just anger and blame, which leads to a lot of resentment, and nothing gets solved when we're working through those emotions, that automatic behavior to our experiences. Um, and those are the big emotions that are at play. Nothing can get solved. Just all those years with my husband, you know, there was no way I could hear what he was saying to me, and he certainly couldn't hear what I was saying to him. And if we're only communicating through anger, you know, and blame, why would we hear it, right? Why why would we hear it? Well, I don't think we're capable of hearing it. Our you know, we're probably in some sort of cognitive dissonance, and our brain halves aren't talking to each other, which puts us in a fight or flight kind of nervous reaction in our body. And watching my friends last week, I mean, they absolutely were both in that circle. And talking with them both, neither could hear me. And let's face it, looking at my marriage and reflecting back on that, I mean, here I thought just communicating through those would get us to a better position, but all it did was drive the separation and force us further and further and further apart. And there was no way that relationship with my husband could have survived if I didn't focus on me. And ultimately, I think what I'm asking, isn't it our responsibility to heal ourselves? We're not going to change the other person. We're certainly, if we're blaming the systems and the institutions, we're certainly not going to change that. So isn't it our job to use those emotions so that we can understand ourselves better? I know for me, once I became so exhausted with just always blaming and being angry and being resentful, that ultimately almost was like a contagion, if you will, and played out in my job, with my kids, with my friends, with my community. When I just got so exhausted of feeling that way, that's ultimately what sparked my journey, because I was just so tired. And I guess it was through me, going on that journey to get to know myself better, that I could understand the anger. I could understand why I would blame, but I was able to look at everything with a wider lens, if you will, to really be able to open myself up so that I could see the other side, right? So that I could have empathy, so that I could hear what was being said to me or what was being shown to me. I don't know, everything just makes me really sad right now, because I feel like we see this all the time, and we can't improve the relationships, I don't think, and we can't improve our experiences with friends and loved ones and marriages, um, with careers, if we don't take some accountability to understand those emotions. And it's so easy to be in those emotions, right? Do you guys think that? Um, I mean, I certainly feel like I see it everywhere, and I know life is hard, and we all are faced with challenges that bring out those emotions, but I certainly still do. Don't get me wrong. There's no perfection over here. I still get angry and blame and have a little resentment, but I'm just more aware of it. And it, those kind of trigger me now to kind of, oh shit, I need to step back a little bit and understand it better. Um, because I don't think anything ever gets solved through that. Not authentically, right? Do you guys feel the same thing? So I guess I just wanted to come on here and just see if that's kind of what you guys are seeing and feeling, and and maybe use my story with my husband, because once I became more aware of myself, and once I've found more peace, it opened that door for me to be able to communicate with him, to be able to be vulnerable with him. I could hear what he was saying to me. I was able to move with love and not blame. I was able to have compassion and understanding. I was able to forgive. And we were able to heal our relationship. But all those years that, you know, the anger and the victim plane was there, we never truly stepped into a healthy relationship together as a couple. It wasn't until I took responsibility for my emotions and my actions and became curious to heal it and understand better. So I guess I just want to jump on here and just kind of encourage that, right? Um, because I think the more of us that step into that awareness, then the easier it's going to be to have, authentic one-on-one relationships and family relationships and community relationships and that's the divine feminine, right? The divine feminine energy is that loving, authentic, emotionally intelligent, balanced, magnetic energy that becomes a force. It becomes a pull. It becomes magnetic, not pushing, you know, like it is when you're just living through the anger all the time. Um, and I think we need more of that harmony, if you will, because when you step into that, it is easier to move with love and understanding. It is easier to talk to your partner. It is easier to talk to your family and kids and community and understand and love them even if, you know, you don't agree or feel the same way as they do. Um, but all we're doing with the anger, don't you think, is just completing the divide even further and causing this separation to just grow and grow and grow. So I encourage you to, you know, focus on you. That's where the change is going to come. Because if you understand yourself, just like with my husband, he kind of stepped into meeting me. That divine feminine is, I mean, shit, you guys, go back to go back. I mean, Isis and Bridget and, I mean, Hathor and Athena. I mean, think about it. They were all goddesses. It was their nurturing, loving, feminine, creative selves that, you know, kept the collective in divine harmony, if you will, and radiating and magnetic and shoot, I'm here to tell you, my husband, I mean, once I started to understand myself and move with him with compassion and empathy and love and forgiveness, he just automatically stepped into the same thing. So if, I don't know, if we're all doing that, won't everybody else and your relationships just kind of step more into that harmony and create that unity versus dividing us? I certainly think so. And I know we definitely communicate better today. Um, even if we upset one another or get angry, or, we could certainly speak it, and we're entitled to our emotions, right? Um, the difference is that we do it with compassion for each other now. And that is not what I saw when I spent time with my friends, which, like I said, was was sad, and just felt very familiar to me, right? No different I than, just in general what we watch and see and we hear, you know, out there in the world. um, I think it's accountability for those reactions. And I think we all need to step into that responsibility. You know, it's like the conversation I had with um, a girl when we were waiting for our flights, and I didn't know her, but she was dressed well, her hair was done, her nails were done. She had on some nice jewelry, and she was younger, and she was, griping that, she hated the economy right now, hated, who was president, and um, said she couldn't get a job because of it. And but then, the whole time I'm kind of sitting there, I'm just listening to her, but I'm like taking in the amount of money that's in her jewelry, clothes, nails, hair, and and obviously taking a trip, right? And I kind of sat there to myself, and I'm like, wow, it's just the blame game right now. I feel like we're in like a blame game, and it's keeping us all down because, you know, I'm the first to say that I went through that blame game too with the job, and you know, blamed my clients and blamed my friends for not using me as their realtor, and that's why I'm not making any money, and woe is me, and that's why, you know, I can't afford to put food on the table. Whatever it was blame, blame, blame that I was doing, right? But I had to take accountability, and I might have had to work, two other jobs just to make some money, like loading a truck, doing stuff that I didn't think I would be doing at the time. But shoot, it stopped me from blaming. And then I had a paycheck, right? I don't know. I'm throwing it out there. What do you guys think? Um, I feel like we need to hold ourselves more accountable. We're certainly not going to change the president right now, or, you know, your job, or without taking some accountability with watching your emotions. Stop playing the victim. Stop, allowing the anger and the resentment to keep creating these divides, and look inside and understand ourselves, so that, I don't know, maybe we do a better job, being responsible. Because I do think, just from my experiences that I've gone through, that, it made a difference with my friends. It made a difference with my husband. It made a difference with my kids, um, in our relationships, when I was able to hold myself responsible and stop moving with anger and blame all the time. And it really is a little magnetic, because you know what? They're all doing kind of that same accountability, that same conversation. So I don't know. Just thought I'd throw it out there. Um, see what you guys think. Let me know. Let me know. I would appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Much love.